Let's take a couple of moments and we're going to check out the subwoofer settings on your Pioneer in-dash receiver. Even though your particular in-dash receiver may be a 1-DIN model or a 2-DIN model, and may or may not have a CD slot across the top like this one, the button operation in this demonstration is identical for the following Pioneer models: MVH-S4000BT, MVH-S4000BT, FH-S500BT, DEH-S4000BT, DEH-S4010BT. So right now I'm on the AM/FM radio source, but I could be on any source, it doesn't matter. And I want to get started with the subwoofer settings, but before I change any subwoofer settings, I need to check one thing on the in-dash receiver to make sure we're all set up and ready to go here. So I'm going to switch the radio off. I want power to the vehicle, but switch the radio off. So press and hold source for a couple of seconds. That will switch the in-dash receiver off. I still have the clock on the screen. If I touch the display button here, you'll see the clock goes away. That's how I know it's switched off, but I still have power from the vehicle. Now, press in on the volume control, and we're going to get to the initial menu. Here is System. We want to get to Initial, and we'll press Enter here. So here is my speaker and pre-out mode. Now, the system has two sets of speaker outputs for front speakers and rear speakers, and it has two sets of RCA outputs for operating external amplifiers, and they can be set up as front and rear output or front and subwoofer output. In this case, I want to set them up as front and subwoofer output. So I'm going to press in on the volume control, and this tells me that my rear speaker outputs are set to full range, and my rear RCA outputs are set to subwoofer output. I can also adjust that here so that my rear speaker outputs are set to subwoofer output and my rear RCAs are set to subwoofer output. So I could, if I wanted to, operate a small subwoofer on the speaker level outputs if I wanted to do that. And I have the option to set up the rear speaker outputs as full range and the rear RCA outputs as full range. Now, please note, if you have the rear speaker output set up as full range and the rear RCA output set up as full range, you'll have no subwoofer control built into this system. I want to have subwoofer control built into this system. I'm going to choose this setting, which is rear speaker outputs set to full range and rear RCA outputs set to subwoofer output. Once I've made those settings, I'm just going to press the source button to go out to any source. Now I'm going to go into the audio settings. So press in on the volume control and we'll roll along here until we get to audio and press enter. Now let's roll along here until we find subwoofer. There you can see that my subwoofer is switched on. I can also switch the subwoofer off right here. Now please note, if you have the subwoofer switched off here, the next setting that you come across is speaker level. Let's go back now to subwoofer off, but I'm going to press in on the volume control and switch that subwoofer output on. And now this changes the next setting to the subwoofer phase. So right now the phase is set to normal. I can also choose to have the subwoofer output be reverse phase. Now you should try both the normal and the reverse phase in your vehicle. One of them might sound significantly better to you than the other. For right now, I'm going to leave the subwoofer output switched on and it's set to its normal phase. Now let's roll over to the next setting. I have an important subwoofer setting inside speaker level. So we'll press enter here. This is the output level for the front left, front right, rear left, rear right, and my subwoofer output here. This is my subwoofer level control. So I'll press in on the volume control here, and here I can make the subwoofer output a little louder or a little quieter compared to the other speakers in the system without affecting any of the other speakers in the system. Once you've made your adjustments to the subwoofer output, we can also make adjustments to the subwoofer crossover. So here are our crossover settings, and I'll press enter there. Here's the front crossover, the rear crossover, and the subwoofer crossover. Let's press enter here. Here we have a low pass filter for the crossover. If I roll back a little, we can switch that low pass filter off and have it straight pass through with full range, or we can switch the low pass filter on. And I can change the frequency of the crossover point, and I have a wide variety of frequencies to choose from here, all the way from 25 Hertz, 31.5, 40, 50, 63, 80, 100, 125, 160, 200, and 250 hertz. I can choose any of those crossover points for my low pass filter for my subwoofer. For right now, I'm going to choose 63 hertz for that, and I'll press in on the volume control, and here I can change the slope of the crossover all the way from 6 dB per octave through 12, 18, 24, 30, or all the way up to 36 dB per octave, which is an extremely steep slope for a crossover. So for right now, I'm going to go with 24 dB per octave with my crossover point set at 63 hertz on my low pass filter for my subwoofer. Let's go back now, and we'll go back one more, and let's roll over to the next setting that I'm after here, which is my dynamic bass control. You can see right now that dynamic bass control is switched off, and on selected receivers you also find this large bass button at the bottom. This is a way to switch this on or off as well. So for right now, I'm going to press in on the volume control and switch the dynamic bass control onto its low setting. I could also switch it onto its high setting here. For right now, I'm going to switch it onto its low setting, and I see the bass indicator up in the screen up here. And now we're going to go out to the source. And if I touch this bass control, you can see I can switch the dynamic bass control off, or I can switch it back on.